So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for registering and thank you for setting out time to be a part of our webinar. We certainly are very excited about this webinar. It's a great product range that's really going to serve our markets and our clients very well. And right from the word go, I just want to say that this isn't a presentation that I've made. It's a copy of the presentation that DJI did early on at the launch. But we just wanted to have this chance to go over it with our valued customers, potential new customers, see their reactions, hear from you guys, and plot forward the next steps. So at any stage, if you do have questions, there will be a gap at the end of the presentation to have verbal questions, and we can try and answer that. But if something pops up and you would like to find out more before then, please type your question in the chat box. We've got a lot of our team members on standby, and they'll respond to your questions as the presentation goes. So no need to wait to the end. But if you do want to ask a verbal question, right at the end, there'll be a gap for that. All right, so let's get going. This is the agenda and the outline of what we're going to go through. Everything is going to be recorded, and we're going to make the recording available in a few days after this on our website. And with the thank you letter we're going to send you, there'll also be a link to the webinar. So no need to take notes. You'll also see that I might go quite fast over some of the technical things, but just know that you can watch the recording at a later stage. And then Bronwyn has posted a link in the chat app for the contact request form. So if at any stage you think that you'd like somebody from our team to contact you, please fill out that form and we'll respond as soon as possible. All right. So a little bit about myself. I'm the general manager at Optron, looking after South Africa, Lesotho and Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. I graduated from UKZN in 2002 with BSc Surveying, completed my articles, and then after doing that, I first joined Optron. I call it my season 1 as a regional sales manager. From there, I left Optron to start my own survey practice. Towards the end of my time with my own practice, I did a lot of surveying with drones, volumetrics, progress monitoring, mapping, and I guess that's where the sort of passion for drones and technology came in, realizing how much you can achieve and very efficiently. After that, I returned to Optron. So Sean, who's on the call, he kindly extended an invitation for me to join Optron back in 2018, which I grabbed. I joined as the segment manager, and at this stage, I've got the privilege of leading the team as the general manager. But also on the call, as for me, it's an honorable guest, Mr. Tianyu Duan. He's joining us from Shenzhen. He is our DJI channel manager. He's been looking after us since 2020 when we became a dealer. And from his side, he graduated from Arizona in 2012 with a mechanical engineering Bachelor of Science degree. From there, furthered it with a master's degree in international business. And then he's been with DJI since 2016 and currently responsible for the Africa and Latin America sales region. So welcome, Tianyu. Really good to have you with us.
Thank you, Stefan. It's a pleasure also.
Excellent. And then a little bit about Optron. Optron was established in 1986. We were the first Trimble dealer outside of the United States. We're quite proud of that. And we've been an enterprise dealer with DJI since 2020. So we're still young and fresh in terms of that, but we have a very healthy appetite and ambition to grow in our relationship with DJI. The other brands that we represent, apart from DJI, is listed over there. And basically, we take on these brands when we see that there's a gap for us in terms of offering a solution and a service to our customers. So a lot of these brands, the need for them came from you, you as our valued customer, which is why we've got them representing the different aspects. And our staff complement, mainly for this, for the Optron side, we've got 61 staff members, 10 sales consultants, 4 segment managers and subject matter experts. But what we're quite proud of is having a dedicated help desk and a certified service center. So not only is it certified in Trimble and the other brands that we represent, but also in DJI Enterprise. Okay, and then just a quick slide showing that Optron is part of the Optron group. And there we have different business units, mainly specializing in servicing different verticals in the industries. All right, so with this webinar, we thought to do something different. And instead of me trying to state what I think the intentions were with the Mavic 3 Enterprise range, I thought, well, let's interview Mr. Tianyu himself and let's hear from his side, you know, what the thinking was behind the drone and the inspiration. So I've got a few questions. I'm going to state it and then give Tianyu a chance to answer. So the first one, what was the inspiration behind the Mavic 3 Enterprise series?
Well, thank you, Stefan, and thank you everybody for joining the webinar. Simply, the answer for the first question is actually it's a new platform, and it's completely new compared to the previous Mavic 2. So basically, we want more people to be able to benefit from the technology advancement. So that's the inspiration behind creating a completely new platform.
That's brilliant, because I know the M300, for example, could be quite intimidating and hard for customers to adopt as their first enterprise drone.
Exactly.
So what was the vision and the mission of the Mavic 3 Enterprise series?
Well, so I mean, from DJI side, we've only into the enterprise world since officially 2016. Let's put it that way. So still, the objective is we want more people to use our technology, and by doing this, we want to provide a entry-level product and with with the capability. So this is the vision and mission of this new drone.
That's brilliant. Okay, I think there's a bit of background noise there, but don't let that distract us. Okay, the next question, what are the highlights of the Mavic 3 Enterprise?
Stefan, you muted.
Sorry, I think one of my team members muted all. Yeah, I was just saying question 3. What are the highlights of the Mavic 3 Enterprise series, and what's the difference with the consumer Mavic 3? I mean, it seems like it's based on the same platform, but I'm sure there are some differences.
Yes, well, the most apparent difference, I mean, of course, also is the highlight of the Mavic 3 Enterprise, is the RTK capability. So instead of general 5 to 10 meter level of accuracy with the GPS, now we can get into centimeter level accuracy. Comes down to doing precision surveying and mapping applications. And also the camera, now we managed to benefit fully on the mechanical shutter and the time sync technology. So it gives much better result, even compared to the Mavic 3 to the all the consumer line drones. So basically, I would say yes.
No, carry on.
No, so basically these two are the most apparent difference. But of course, giving it a enterprise platform, we fitted, for example, DJI Pilot 2. That's the operating application different from for example, the consumer DJI Fly. So with the DJI Pilot 2, you have a lot of capabilities, especially on, for example, flight planning, mission planning, also to be compatible with a lot of third-party applications.
That's excellent. And yeah, this is a good point for me to build some anticipation with the participants here, is that we're going to have a whole series of webinars starting as early as next year, perhaps end of this year still, depending on projects of our customers. But just to take people through this journey of, why the enterprise series, using the right tool for the job versus trying to make a consumer drone do enterprise tasks. There's definitely benefits and quality enhancements on the Mavic 3 Enterprise series. All right, so question 4, what are the improvements of the Mavic 3 Enterprise compared to Phantom 4 RTK? I'm sure a lot of people have this question.
Well, to put it simply, the efficiency. So we're looking at both from, for example, one flight coverage in terms of surveying area, and also the time intervals that it can take pictures. So basically, minimum depends on the ground sample distance. The efficiency can be up to from 2 times to 4 times more.
That's brilliant. And of course, the form factor. I remember working with the Phantom 4, and you always had to connect the propellers, and it was a much bigger box. So just seeing the Mavic 3 Enterprise, I think the form factor is already going to be quite exciting.
Right. That's a very apparent point also. That's a good one.
All right, and question 5, what are the improvements of the Mavic 3 Thermal compared to the already good Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced?
Okay, that's a good question. So on the thermal capability, we didn't increase that much, but comparing to the flight time, comparing to the zoom on the RGBs, comparing to the connectivity, because with the new Mavic 3 thermal, we were using the OcuSync latest version on the connection between the drone and the controller. So we're looking at I would say a good update, but we don't really raise that much the price. So that's pretty much the improvement.
That's incredible. Yeah, thanks. Okay, and then last question for now. Which industries are the Mavic 3 Enterprise series suitable for?
I would say survey and mapping for the Mavic 3 Enterprise, and then the surveillance, energy inspection for the Mavic 3 Enterprise Thermal.
Excellent, that makes sense. And what we're finding from our historic sales is some of our customers have actually got very interesting applications for drones, and we're finding more and more customers having better reasons to implement drones in most of the industries. So very exciting to see that growth and the adoption. Well, thank you very much, Tianyu. Please stay on the line, and towards the end of the presentation, where we showcase the sample data of sort of Chinese data sets and so on, I would love you to help us with some of the pronunciation of the names and so forth, and maybe add some context. But enjoy the webinar, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan. We will talk soon.
Excellent. So on to the main part of the presentation, and that's it over there. If you guys haven't seen it yet, the Mavic 3 Enterprise series, beautiful drones, phenomenal form factor, and little, dynamite comes in small packages. These are certainly dynamite. So as you could see there, basically the Enterprise series consists of 2 drones. The Mavic 3 Enterprise, which with the mechanical shutter, that's what everybody in the surveying and mapping industry has been hoping for. Everybody loved flying a Mavic if they could only have a mechanical shutter, and those wishes came true with the Mavic 3 Enterprise. And then with the Mavic 3 thermal drone, as you heard there, it's an improvement on the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, which was already great. All right, so lightweight and portable. Like I said, with the Phantom 4 RTK, it was really a good drone. It already had the mechanical shutter, but the portability was definitely significant. If you quickly need to get somewhere, deploying and packing it away was certainly not as efficient as it could be, but that's now properly addressed with the Mavic 3 Enterprise. And another little thing there, I don't know if you guys noticed in the picture right there, is the gimbal cover. It certainly looks easier than the previous one where you really had to align all the stars before it would fit nicely. Okay, so between the Mavic 3 Enterprise and the thermal, both have a wide angle camera and a tele camera. But the difference is with the Enterprise, there's a mechanical shutter on that camera. It's not exactly the same camera, but the mechanical shutter basically unlocks it and enables it to be used for high accuracy surveying and mapping. And then on the wide camera, this is it there. Highlight is that it avoids that rolling shutter effect. So for the guys who do surveying and mapping, you'll know that with the consumer drones and when we started, mapping with GoPros, the rolling shutter whereby it builds up an image line by line, that was really a challenge because while it's building up the image, the drone is flying forward, effectively causing image blur and causing inaccuracies. So that challenge is completely solved in this version of the drone. All right, and then just some shots here of the tele camera, really zooming in and enabling you to perform inspections to a great amount of detail. I mean, a 56 times hybrid zoom is certainly going to get you all the information visually that you need whilst doing inspections. And then on the thermal camera, it's got the high resolution thermal sensor to make informed decisions by quickly identifying objects on site. And what I've already noticed from the Mavic 2 Enterprise series is, the thermal camera is so good that you can literally fly in the pitch dark and not be disoriented. It gives you so much feedback from the terrain around you that you can very comfortably fly it and pilot it at nighttime. Okay, here we talk about the surveying efficiency and the improved surveying efficiency. Everybody out there needs to try and, do more in less time. And the improved flight time already of 42 minutes with the RTK module enables this Mavic 3 Enterprise to capture over 200 hectares in a single flight, which for an entry-level drone is really significant. You can really get a lot done with that sort of flight time and with a bigger footprint of the camera. And then with the charging hub there, and if you have a few battery sets, you can simply plug it in and let it charge the batteries while you perform your other flights. So this graph on the bottom here shows you the comparison with the different GSDs, in other words, different ground sample distances flying at different heights. So on the left is the Mavic 3 Enterprise, in the middle is the Phantom 4 RTK, and on the right is our flagship, the Matrice 300 with the P1. So it's no surprise that the P1, you can really achieve a lot depending on the GSD. But look at the enhancement between the Mavic 3 Enterprise and the Phantom 4 RTK. you can really get more done with the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which is a complete win-win. It's smaller, it's easier to use, and you can do more with it. Here's just some examples of the accuracy that was tested on it. And for normal survey grade work, you can see it's well within the spec. Then the OcuSync 3, which really enhances the transmission range and effectiveness. Instead of the 7 kilometers, it's up to 9 to 15 kilometers now with a low interference and low latency. And in one of the use cases towards the end of the presentation, you'll see how they really, in a challenging environment where there was interference, they were able to still complete the job with no downtime. And then, of course, the omnidirectional obstacle sensing, protecting your investment and ensuring that no casualties or cases are caused during your work. Then another really nice feature is the advanced return to home. So in the traditional return to home, the drone would ascend to a specified height and then beeline it back to the home point and then descend. But if you are inspecting or doing search and rescue or first responder type work in between tall skyscrapers and buildings, that's not always a sensible option. So with the advanced return to home, it can actually fly at a lower altitude and avoid the obstacles to come home in a smart way. And the same with the advanced pilot assistance system. Instead of just stopping when there's an obstacle, it can actually route itself around it and carry on with the job. Then just some of the accessories that's available. So about the RC Pro, the remote controller, it now has a 3-hour battery life. Unfortunately, no external battery, but it should be good enough for 3 hours of mapping work. It supports the cellular module and only takes an hour and a half to fully charge. Then the RTK module, that's not standard, but it can be ordered and it can be clipped on top of the drone to enable the centimeter level accuracy of navigating and also geocoding the photo centers. And then the speaker. Now, if you guys remember the Mavic 2 Enterprise range, the speaker was really quite cute, but there's been significant enhancements in this one. It's much stronger and it also looks the part. And then the cellular module, which can clip on the drone on top. And again, that helps with the image transmission and also with sending, low latency footage back to Flight Hub 2 for monitoring. Then on the professional software, just going through the portfolio, DJI Pilot 2 is now on the controller. DJI Terra, still used for processing and stitching the photographs for terrain modeling. And here with both the M3E and the M3T, you would get one license of the Terra electricity version for free for 3 months. So for some people, that might be a real bonus, if you're already in that industry of doing inspections. Flight Hub 2, we're excited down the line to show you guys demonstrations of this, and we'll record some footage for the upcoming webinars. But that's really good for live streaming, sharing information, and bringing situational awareness down to the ground station. And then for the thermal camera, of course, the thermal analysis tool, which is now in-house with DJI. Then extensibility, mobile SDK, payload SDK, that's a new one for the Mavic. Cloud API. So this has a lot to do with customizations, and as Optron, we're going to start progressing in this field quite a bit next year. and bringing solutions custom made for, purpose built for the job applications. Then in the box, you guys may have seen this on the website, but it's always just good to see. So what's represented there in the box, you'll basically get the drone, the smart controller. Nice that it's got the built-in screen and you're not trying to connect a phone and you left the cable at home. 3 sets of propellers, the gimbal cover, and the normal chargers there. And then what is optional is the RTK module, the speaker, the charging hub, which takes 3 batteries, any additional batteries, and a 4G dongle. Or you could get the battery set, which has 3 batteries and a charging hub. This is probably how we're going to be bundling most of our offers to you guys. Okay, then down to a few more technical specifications here, and the comparison between the Mavic 3 Enterprise versus the Mavic 3 Thermal versus the professional or consumer Mavic 3. And I'm not going to go through each of these line by lines, but I think just highlighting the ones that stand out, the internal parameter calibration. And we'll focus on this in the webinar to come, where the internal camera calibrations have been done individually for each of the Mavic 3 Enterprise units, as well as for the thermal, meaning they don't apply a blanket or a general camera calibration, but each one is individually calibrated. Those specs are written into the drone and attached to the photo's EXIF data. So this plays a very big part when you are doing reconstruction of, images and so forth, because now it knows what the camera specs are and the parameters. All right, and this is I really like this slide because it gives us an idea of the sort of sensor size between the different cameras. So the outer line here is the Zenmuse P1. So it's got the biggest footprint and obviously then will give us the most efficiency in terms of mapping. But the one that is significant or close to home, we're all used to the Phantom 4 RTK. That's the middle one. And you can just visually see the enhancement with the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which is going to aid to your efficiency. So you've got longer flight time and a bigger footprint per photograph, which is going to help with that surveying and mapping job. Okay, the Enterprise versus the Phantom 4 RTK. Weight-wise, significantly lighter. Portability, this is the form factor I spoke about in the interview. It's foldable, it's compact, and it comes in a nice hard carry case, and not a foam case or one with awkward dimensions that's hard to travel with. Diagonal length, this was surprising to me, even though you thought it would be smaller, but it's got a bigger diagonal length marginally. Then what stands out, of course, is the maximum wind speed resistance. So with the Phantom 4 RTK, I remember cases down on the coast when the cold front winds would come through. We actually couldn't map that day, but with the Mavic 3 Enterprise and a wind resistance of 43 kilometers an hour, you should be able to map in most days. Flight time much longer, and operating temperatures, you can now work in sub-zero conditions where the Phantom 4 RTK couldn't. And the maximum flight speed, obviously this is in perfect conditions. You could map at 15 meters a second, 54 kilometers an hour. And that's because of mechanical shutter, obviously the capability of the airframe, and the quick shutter sort of trigger time. Okay, continued versus Phantom 4 RTK here. What stands out is you get an additional camera, the tele camera, which unlocks inspection capabilities there. This has just got to do with the remote controller. So OcuSync 3, that's all, more than double what it was with the normal OcuSync. 4G transmission is supported. HDMI is supported, so you can connect your controller screen to an external monitor. Really good for inspections. And it uses the Pilot 2 app versus the Ground Station app. But at this stage, functionality is still being built in the Pilot 2 app. There are one or two functions that the Ground Station RTK app had that are still developing in the Pilot 2 app, but nothing major. You'll still be able to do most of your money-making jobs. And then, of course, SDK and customization, much more supported in the Mavic 3. Okay, Mavic 3 Thermal now versus the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. Then the highlighted ones here again for me is the maximum transition range. So the Mavic 3 on the right-hand side, much longer transition range, longer airtime, and a higher wind speed resistance. So we were already impressed with the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, but they've taken it further with the Mavic 3. Okay, and then on this slide, highlighted is just significant improvement in the zoom for the Mavic 3 Thermal. Okay, so yeah, we had to get through the specs, but I think now the exciting part is here, and these are the use cases. So all of these use cases are outside of South Africa, but our commitment to you is that in our upcoming webinars, we're going to share our use cases and, sample data that we've gathered in our conditions, which we're really looking forward to. So the first one here, I'm going to just call it Glacier Survey, but Tianyu, please help us pronounce the name there.
Well, in Chinese, it's called 海螺谷. Yeah,
Hailuogu.
Yeah, it's not so easy, but yeah, Glacier is much better.
Yeah, Glacier Survey. Excellent. All right, so there's a bit of background on the glacier. What stands out is that traditional surveying methods would take them 1 to 2 days. I find even that's quite impressive. I would guess to get across a glacier to survey would take much longer. But in their details here, you can see that they only had 2 hours of shooting time available due to fog and weather conditions. And on the right-hand side, you can see the different sort of photo centers representing the different flight paths. They had to break it up into 9 flights. All of that put together, 4,349 photos and only 11 and a half hours processing or modeling by DJI Terra. So on the next slide here is what we're looking at here is not a video, it's actually the reconstructed model. And what really stands out for me here, if any one of you have tried to model something where the colors are very uniform, like black surfaces or ice, it's nearly impossible. But look how well this got reconstructed. There's literally no holes in the 3D model. So kudos to the sensor and kudos to DJI Terra. Very good model there. Okay, then the next one, heritage modeling. Tianyu, how would we pronounce that one?
嘉峪 pass. Well, the pass in Chinese also means 关. So together, Chinese says it's 嘉峪关.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, and I must say I'm always impressed when I see man-made structures modeled and reconstructed in DJI Terra versus some software that I used to use in the industry. Very, very impressive. Again, there's a lot of pixels that are exactly the same coloring, yet the software still manages to put it together without the warping. So the advantages in this instance was that they had a lightweight drone that they could fly because there's a lot of tourists or density of tourists. Imagine flying with a Matrice 300, it would certainly cause disruptions. Safety with the customizable omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. In some cases there, they say they flew 5 meters away from the tower, which is very close for comfort. And then the efficiency, millimeter resolution, and the integrated operation with the Mavic 3 Enterprise plus DJI Terra. So have a look at this beautiful model. I mean, even I'm guessing it's a sprinkler system on the roof arches there. Even that thin wiring was captured and modeled. And notice the absence of warping and weird artifacts in the model. It really looks amazing. I'm going to just skip a little bit forward. And Tiani, you were saying this site is quite old.
Yeah, it's about 700 years from the year it's being constructed, and
That's incredible.
yeah, it's quite in the middle of the desert.
Wow. Good. And then on to the next one. Can you please help us with the name?
Even for this one, I don't even know how to how to put the Chinese word on it, but
Yeah, if it was
well, I
Forza,
mean
we would have.
by pronunciation it's Qingxu, but I don't
Yes.
know which characters. Too many.
Okay, I understand. Thanks. All right, so what stands out here is the vastness of this project. So 15 square kilometers they needed to map with at least 5 centimeters GSD. Very complex environment. Um, High difficulty in selecting takeoff and landing points. So you can imagine if you were mapping with a big drone that's awkward to deploy, that would have made this a challenge. They flew with the Mavic 3 Enterprise and 9 batteries, 150 meter altitude, 4 centimeter GSD at 15 meters a second. So they really maxed out the specs there. Flew 10 sections and they completed all the data acquisition in one day, which is really impressive. 9,838 photographs. So let's have a look at the rest here. Author Mosaic, they got in one single flight. So I guess that's a high flight. The accuracies here look really impressive. And then this was the one where I mentioned that the strong signal, with OcuSync 3 and the enterprise transmission with the 4G dongle additions, they had unblocked signal, so uninterrupted signal. Okay, I think I can take a chance with this one. Fenhe River, a long distance river inspection, or what we would call a corridor inspection. This is very, very challenging if your pilot app doesn't have the functionality built in. If you're just using normal Pix4D capture, for example, you got to draw these rectangles and you got to draw lots of them, have lots of different little flight paths. Whereas with DJI's built-in functions, it's much easier. You could almost just draw a center line, choose your offsets left and right of the center line, and the software will do the rest. Okay, so they had 5 routes, 300-meter width. They did it in 7 flights, 8 home points a day, and 8,470 photographs. It's quite an interesting picture on the bottom left. It makes either the car look small or the drone look big. So with this, the benefits were that they could do it faster. With the transmission, it was much stronger. You could let the drone fly much further away from your home points and quicker in terms of deployment. 1 minute to takeoff. Very good flexibility for takeoff and landing, and extremely maneuverable. You could fly at your own will. Okay, the next one is simply a highway inspection. And with this one, the inspection would have to do with cracks in the road and so on. So a really good camera resolution would be important. So they use the Mavic 3 Enterprise with 3 batteries, flew at 70 meters, 2 centimeter GSD, again at 15 meters a second, maxing it, 80-60 overlap, and they did it 3 flights, 2 hours to complete the entire job there. Have a look at the next model here. And for me, this is really astonishing because mapping and modeling blacktop, the roads with photogrammetry is no easy task because the pixels are all generally the same color. It becomes very hard for the software to reconstruct it, but it seems like DJI Terra had no challenges here. Okay, also with enhanced obstacle avoidance, you can see there's gantries and towers and all sorts. This must have given the pilot a lot of comfort in terms of being able to fly and not worrying too much about potential crashes. Right, then Southern Nanning 3D. What stands out for me here, if you can see it on the right-hand side in these little videos, is that the data collected by the Mavic 3 Enterprise is being synced or being transmitted to FlightHub 2 live, which is really cool. So on the top, you can see the position of the drone and what it's busy with, including some key stats. And then on the bottom, you can see the video stream going through. So that powerful 3D modeling, man-made surfaces here. Have a look at the quality of the reconstruction and how none of the vertical walls are warped or distorted to, unrecognizable shapes. It all looks very, very realistic. In fact, it looks like you're looking at a photograph. Okay, on the next one, and there's not many left, but on the next one, there's Bowsing Earth Disaster, close range photogrammetry. And you can see here that there was a huge drop, 700 meters maximum altitude drop across power lines. With the Mavic 3, they managed to successfully do that. 40 flights by the Mavic 3 Enterprise, 30,000 photographs. I mean, this is a phenomenal feat to have in the data set. So have a look at this on the right-hand side. And this is also vertical mapping. So the benefits here was the support. Tianya, I forgot what this WPM stands for. I'm guessing it's a third-party app that helped them with the vertical flight planning.
Let me check and get back to you.
Yeah, it's not serious. I'm pretty sure they said that. I just can't remember what the name was, what it stood for there. But then also the flexible operation, adaptability to sudden strong crosswinds. So you can imagine with these vertical structures, it kind of channels and funnels the wind, where the sleek profile and form factor of the Mavic helped it to withstand those winds. And then the portability, they were able to carry it in a backpack. So I'm guessing they had to hike and fly from all sorts of strange takeoff and landing zones. Okay, and then the McCown Gordon construction. They had to monitor job sites' progress over time and delivered updates to key clients. And I guess down the line, Tianyu, maybe you guys will share some progress monitoring of your brand new building in Shenzhen there, but it's probably too soon at this stage.
Oh, I believe during the construction, they did some measurements for the building.
Oh, great.
So let's hope, later on they can make some
Yeah,
changes.
that will be great. Okay, so yeah, if we speed down to the value, the Mavic 3 Enterprise sped the capture time on site by over 200%. Even after a 20-minute survey, they still had 35% battery left, which was incredible. This is on power grid inspections. So I know we're taking a lot of time with these use cases, but we want to inspire you guys to see what's possible with the drones, because then it'll help you guys with the adoption of it, and the investment. Finding out where you can get your return on investment. Again, on the power grid inspection here on the website, this little video plays, and you can see how they really zoom in nicely there. I just took a static picture for the sake of this presentation. Okay, then on accident reconstruction, we have a client who does a lot of this, and since he's adopted drones, he's really added a great dimension to all his reporting and measurements. And law enforcement, we've also done a lot of work in this industry, and it's just amazing how nothing can hide from a thermal drone unless they dig a bunker and go away. But the amount of data that you can see from the sky, and in terms of finding, suspicious people, game counting and identifying, it's really been amazing. Okay, so that's towards the end of our presentation. There is enough time left for questions, but before that, we as Optron really, we're so excited about the introduction of this drone that we've got a special promotion on the first 20 units that are already en route to our warehouse. And that is for each Mavic 3 Enterprise. So it's specifically on the surveying and mapping drone. Each one that you would buy from us, we are going to throw in everything at the bottom there. So a little helipad, that's just makes things look cool, and it's quite nice to have. Keep the dust out the way. But then we're going to add a Trimble DA2 Catalyst receiver. This is a high accuracy GNSS receiver, centimeter grade, including software that runs on your phone that will help you measure any checkpoints that you've got for your job. So that will be included for free, as well as 3 hours training. So this can be customized training. If you've already got software, then we'll help you train on perhaps modeling or generating deliverables. We could customize those 3 hours, as well as free shipping to your location for this drone. So if this at all interests you, please use the link in the chat window there to give us your details, and we'll follow up on that, and we'll stick true to our word and get you that enhanced bundle. This is a bundle of what we think really works well, what plays nicely with the DJI, and I think it'll add a lot of value to what you guys are trying to achieve. Good. So with that, that's the end of the presentation. But questions and answers, by all means, please, you don't need to raise your hand. Just unmute your microphone and go for it.
Hi.
Yes, is that Terry?
No, it's Robert.
Oh, Robert. Go for
Yeah.
it, Robert. What's your
Yes.
question?
I just want to know whether this Mavic 3 comes with the LiDAR camera.
So unfortunately, the Mavic doesn't carry a LiDAR. LiDAR is quite a big thing, a big payload, which is the Matrice 300 caters for that. So the Matrice 300 can take the DJI L1 LiDAR, but the Mavic 3 only takes photogrammetric cameras.
Okay. Maybe just the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Is DJI intending to manufacture fixed wing drones?
Oh, that's a very good question to which I don't have the answer. Tianyu, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Sure. So for the moment, we don't have the plan. But if we have, I'm pretty sure Optron will be, will be notified in advance. So just stay tuned.
Okay, the last one.
Sure. Yes.
I realized that most of the DJI drones, which are old, are the ones which are mostly supported by most surveying and mapping software, and most of them are free. If you check Phantom 4, Phantom 3, etc., you find that they've got massive options of the programs. Even the programs which are done by DJI, like Fly, Go, and so on, you will find that they've got flight planning within it. But when it comes to other new, like Mavic Air 2S, you find that it's very limited. But so just want to say maybe that DJI should manufacture its drones together with a package. Say, for instance, if I buy it now, it's DJI Fly app. It should have that provision rather than for me to go to the third party, because the third party sometimes they let you down.
No, you're quite right. But what you'll find is exactly what you're asking for exists now within the Mavic 3 Enterprise. It's got all the flight planning and all the software ready for survey, whereas they've moved it away from the other ones, like the Air 2S. That's not meant to be an enterprise mapping drone, even though it's probably possible. But because it's not meant to it, you'll find that those packages aren't installed by default. Tianyu, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
So basically, from DJI Enterprise side, we're trying to differentiate the product lines. So you can find, for example, the new drones, the Mavic 3 Enterprise. It comes with the DJI Pilots 2. So inside, you're able to do the flight planning. That comes together in the package. But for some consumer drones, like you mentioned, Mavic Air 2S, we don't want to, make that also compatible with the enterprise applications, because the original design, the original purpose of that product is different.
Exactly.
Thank you, Stefan.
Great, thank you. There's a very good question I picked up in the chat here from Brandon Harvey. Is the DRTK2 compatible with the Mavic 3 Enterprise? And my bad for not specifying that, but it absolutely is. And also the Trimble that we have there isn't intended to be a base station. So that Trimble we're selling is as a rover to measure checkpoints or maybe some additional features. So the DRTK2 is absolutely compatible and recommended. But you could also use network RTK or network PPK or RTK. Okay, I'm just scanning for the guys that have monitored the chat box. Were there any questions that stood out? Quickly. Yes.
Are you?
Good,
Basically,
good.
what I ask, when you fly, because I use Pix 4D.
Yes.
So is the Mavic compatible? Like, is it in the Pix 4D?
Yeah, absolutely. So it talks very well to Pix 4D. Obviously DJI Terra and also Trimble Business Center. So many options there for you to use your existing software to process.
Okay,
but you'll find that, yeah.
Flight or with Pix 4D as well or not?
Say again, the flight planning.
Your flight planning, your flight paths with Pix 4D as well.
I'm actually not sure if Pix 4D Capture would do it. I would imagine that they'd build functionality. I haven't tested it myself, just simply because, with the DJI Pilot 2 app, everything is there already. It's so nice that, you have no need to go to Pix4D capture, it's user friendly, but it's quite rudimental compared to what you can do in Pilot 2.
Okay. And you upload a KML file as well onto.
You can, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That smart controller actually has a little USB slot, so you can pull the KML straight off a USB.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Teek.
Stefan.
Yes, who is this?
It's Sicelo. No, thanks, man. We can hear there's a great potential of return, eh?
Yes,
But now,
absolutely.
what's an investment on this return? How much are we talking here?
Oh, I'm not allowed to tell you.
Really?
Yeah. No,
So
so
confidential.
no, so the good news, why I don't share prices in the presentation there is because everything depends on what you have, what you're trying to achieve. But what I can confidently tell you is if you were satisfied and impressed with the low barrier to entry with the Phantom 4 RTK, DJI have managed to make a drone that's even better than the Phantom 4 RTK, and it's more affordable. So that doesn't often happen. The price has come significantly down from the Phantom 4 RTK. So it bridges that gap now, where there was a temptation to say, no, I can't afford a Phantom 4 RTK. I'm going to just buy a normal Phantom 4 and, I'll just deal with it. DJI have now bridged that gap. So they've made it more affordable than the Phantom 4 RTK, but a little bit more expensive than what the Phantom 4 was, and, found the sweet spot that works for the customers.
Stefan, I want to also add.
Just to follow up, sorry, Stefan, you mentioned on your presentation our Mavic 3. You said it's
Yes.
RTK, but when you were presenting, there is a device that you said it's not standard, the one that works more to better accuracy of 2 centimeters.
Exactly, that little RTK antenna. So
yes, so that one is external. It's an additional component.
That's right. But you'll find that the bundles that we present to you, when we follow up after you fill in the form or reach out to us, we're going to bundle it as standard because we know, listen, you can't do your surveying without that. But DJI have made it so that if you're just buying it for inspections, you don't need a thermal camera. We're not going to force you to buy the RTK. That's why it's modular there.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Tianyu, you were going to add in?
Yeah, so basically the idea is we're trying to lower the price. We don't want to even keep the same price compared to the previous Phantom 4 RTK because we want more people to start using the drones. And that's where the original idea is. So because in DJI, we believe the technology advancement eventually will help all of our end users to profit and benefit. This is the original idea why the price is actually lower, but the full functionality and flight time are much higher.
Absolutely. Great. And since it's all about time and efficiency, we're not going to rob too much more of your time. We've got time for one more question, and then we would love to answer any of your additional questions via means of the contact request form, or if you have our contact details from the website, you can grab it from there. But I think I saw one more question pop up there. Was it in the chat box?
Stefan, David, you can hear me?
Yes, David.
Oh, okay. Sorry, mate. Just tried English. I just want to ask, a good comparison will also be how it compares with the Matrice 300 and the P1 camera. Because I need to buy now, and that is my struggle between the two of them. I know the 300 and the P1 is, you've got obviously the interchangeable that you can now put in other payloads on the 300 with that you can't do with this one. But why will I can rather buy two of these if the quality in terms of the survey accuracy is almost the same. And I mean, I can buy the E and the thermal as well at a later stage, and still hopefully it will be more financially better for me than to go and buy the Matrice 300 with the P1. I know it's a bit, but yeah, I would just like a comparison
Yeah.
between those two products.
No, absolutely. And they definitely, they're not intended to compete with each other. They do serve different purposes. And, you know, we would actually need to sit down with you and fully try and build up a plan and come up with the game plan for your specific needs there. But certainly you could have two of the one. Hopefully you have two pilots. You'll achieve a lot. But the Matrice 300 is definitely going to give you that extended ability to, you know, if your clients demand a LiDAR survey, now you can put a LiDAR payload up. If your clients demand to drop smoke flares, we've had that. You can add a dropper to the Matrice 300. So
Stefan, you're muted.
sorry, somebody muted me again. Maybe they thought I was talking nonsense. But David, I would certainly, you know, for most of our surveying and mapping customers, I would certainly try and introduce them to the Mavic 3 Enterprise as a starting point. I just think it's such a wonderful fit-for-purpose drone that can make you enough money to then buy you the M300 with a LiDAR down the line.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thanks, guys. So you can see we're on all the major social media platforms there, but please take note of our website. You can go onto the resources tab there to see this webinar recording as well as many others. And we've also got the Matrice, the Mavic 3 Enterprise range on the product pages there. Thank you very much for your time and take care.